Hey everybody, I've got a great video for you today because when it comes to the world of electric cars, historically you've been trapped to the grid and specifically to high-power DC chargers that others have installed around select routes, which, over the past few years have been growing and growing and growing, but there's so much of the country which remains uncovered when it comes to fast, high-power DC charging solutions. Well, an innovative new company which we're profiling today has a solution to that, and Ryan.
What's up, Tommy?
Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, Ryan, you're with a company called EV Power Pods.
I am, yeah.
And this is a really interesting idea, which I think not a lot of people know about, but you are providing high power to areas that typically would never have access. Tell me the story behind EV Power Pods.
Yeah, EV Power Pods is a mobile level 3 DC fast charger. We're manufactured out of Fort Smith, Arkansas. Business is based out of Nashville, Tennessee. But it provides 483 phase power, independent totally of the grid. So it doesn't matter if we're out here in the middle of nowhere outside of Fort Collins, or if we're in the middle of nowhere in Montana, Wyoming, we can crank this baby up and you have level 3 DC fast charging immediately.
Now, what is so cool about this, right, is I think a lot of people don't understand how difficult it is to get 3-phase power to remote locations. It can cost hundreds of thousands, it can cost millions of dollars just to run a couple miles of electrical connection. And that's one of the areas that you guys shine, is that you can place this relatively compact unit just about anywhere, right?
Absolutely. We can pull up any parking lot, a field in the middle of nowhere. It's easy to transport. All you need is a 3/4 ton truck in our use case. This is our trailer mounted unit, but we also offer it in a skid mounted and a truck mounted. So the truck is even more maneuverable because it's all self-contained.
So tell me, where did this idea come from?
Yeah, so my father, Dwayne, he is one of the owners of the company. And he was in the alt fuels business for the past decade. And he kind of saw a report about the inability for cars of DC fast charging in the network that we have throughout the country. So with his background in that, he said, got an idea there. So he contacted one of his suppliers and worked with our engineer, his business partner, Barry. And they came up with this idea. And this is our prototype unit that we were taking around the US. It's really our alpha unit is what we refer to it as. And then we went into production in 21, and we have started delivering these units across the country.
Wow. So if you are watching this video and you're looking into purchasing one of these, they're available now.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what we're looking at here. So what are we looking at here? What is this comprised of?
Yeah. So this unit has an 80 kilowatt generator that is powered by propane or natural gas. It's actually a dual fuel unit. Okay. And we can actually use renewable natural gas and renewable propane as well. So this unit runs on a fossil fuel, but it is one of the cleanest ways to produce level 3 DC fast charging. So
talk to me why you went with a propane power unit instead of like a diesel powered unit.
Yeah, the carbon intensity of propane, especially renewable propane, is in the 20s to the 30s. So just that fact alone, that we're having a lesser impact on the environment, we're all about that.
Yeah.
And the availability of propane and renewable propane and natural gas, especially in an area like this, it's a no-brainer for us, because if you wanted to have this in a more permanent solution, like as far as like leaving it somewhere, you can hook up to a natural gas line and you're limitless.
So why propane instead of something like a battery or a solar system?
Yeah. Solar systems, it's going to be difficult because it's a fair weather thing, right? So you're dependent on the sun being out and about to really be able to charge. And it takes so much acreage rather, to be able to charge, to be able to keep the level of kilowatts that you need coming in to keep, even if you're trying to charge a battery. Our use case really shines in that we are generating power on site. So we are not reliant on depleting a battery and then going back and charging the battery and bringing it back on site. We are generating the power here immediately. And we can do that on this unit. We have 115 gallons of propane on board. So we're looking at about a 16-hour runtime, full out at 100% load. If you look right here, we actually have our propane tanks on board.
Oh, wow.
And we have meters that show its capacity. So you'll see that there. And then over here on this side, Tommy, right where this flap is our quick fill port for the propane. So if you were to drop this off at a job site and you got a notification that you're running low on propane, they could literally bring a truck right up to it and fill it right back up.
So, especially here in the mountains, we're all familiar with like the hazmat trucks.
Yeah.
And a lot of like the hazmat trucks, they can't go through like the Eisenhower Tunnel, and there's all these restrictions.
Yeah.
Do you need a special certification to tow this unit around?
That is a great question, and we have a beautiful answer for you.
Okay.
You do not. The limit on this for this unit is going to be 115 gallons before you really need before you need that hazmat certification, right? You have to have it under 999 pounds, and we are under that.
Nice.
So there are no special certifications. You can drive this as is through the tunnel. You don't have to have a special license or a credential on your license. You literally just hook it up and drive the thing down the road.
So 115 gallons.
Yeah.
How long will that propel this generator?
With 115 gallons on board, with the 60 kilowatt fast charger that we have on here, at full load, you're looking at 16 hours.
Wow, okay.
So if you go with 120, we offer the EV Power Pod in 60, 120, and 180 on this platform. If you do the 120, then you're just going to half that time.
Gotcha.
Because really, unless you want to do the certification to carry the extra load of propane, 115 is where we're at with that.
Well, let's take a look at the front end, because what's really cool about this, and we did cheat a little bit off camera, he showed this to me, is I expected this to look like a maze of wires and, you know, all sorts of scary stuff, but you've got this beautiful little sliding door, and why don't you pop that open?
Yeah, absolutely.
And check out how slim and streamlined this is. So it literally looks like any other DC charger.
Yeah.
It's just in this little cubby at the back of the trailer.
Yeah.
So talk to me what we're looking at back here.
Yeah. So this particular DC fast charger is a Fihong unit. Their U.S. headquarters is going to be located in California.
Okay.
It is UL certified, so in its current use case, it can be taken over the road, and we meet all the certifications. We've done a ton of research and used a lot of time and resources to make sure that we are above board and on board with all the certifications. This particular unit, like I said, is a 60 kW, and we have 2 CCS charge handles on board. We have a Tesla adapter here, and we have a COM data unit for fleet vehicles.
So you went with this particular DC charging unit, but going down the road, like, would it be possible to swap that out with other units and other manufacturers?
Yeah, EV Power Pods, as a business, we are charger agnostic.
Okay.
So if we have a customer who is used to another brand, we can implement that easily. It is literally as easy as bolting it off and bolting the new one on.
Now, what I think is really interesting, and one of the big surprises for me, is to see this smart site unit with the credit card reader, with the availability, look, even of contactless payment. So in theory, this could be a unit that someone could purchase, place in a public area, and then have anybody come up and interact with. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay.
So you can have this in the use case for fleet managers and for corporate cards, or on our production units. Do tap to pay, and it'll crank right up for the customer, and they'll be off to the races charging the car.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So your customers right now, what are people purchasing these for, and what do you see like the potential use case for?
Yeah. So we have gotten a tremendous amount of interest with fleet owners.
Okay.
People who we've got a lot of mandates happening throughout the country for electrification of even local governments, federally as well. So the ability for them to charge their last mile delivery trucks. We've gotten interest with, we have a lot of garbage trucks and municipalities that are going electric. So it's like, how do we deliver fast charging in a way that's, economically viable, especially in rural locations where it's not possible to have, level 483 phase.
Yeah. Now another, and I'm just spitballing here, but I could see I've been on a lot of road trips.
Yep.
And you get high use EA stations, high use Tesla superchargers, or you're in a situation where the grid goes down and you have no chargers, cars pulling up. In theory, an operator could roll this right into that parking lot and have people start charging.
That's absolutely right. So you can from the time we hit go, it's about a 5-minute boot up time, and then you're charging immediately. So we've had a lot of interest with this as well on the Gulf Coast with hurricanes, especially when the grid goes down and you've got citizens who have electric vehicles. It's like, well, how are they going to get out of harm's way when the grid goes down? So we're able to deploy these, say every 50 miles, and customers can, citizens can come and they can charge and then just go on up the escape route.
Now, another kind of cool potential here, right, is this is the trailer-mounted unit, but we talked about the truck-mounted unit, which is in some ways even more portable.
Yes.
But say, for example, you were to run out of charge on the side of the road. Is this a system you could pull up behind a car and get an emergency amount of juice just to get them to the next hardwired station?
Yeah. So we offer the EV Power Pod in a truck-mounted unit. It's actually on a cab over Isuzu platform. So it's actually much more compact because it's all in one. We don't have a tow vehicle. So in those situations where you're on the side of the road and you're in danger, You can literally pull up right next to it, charge it, and be on your way.
60 kW may not mean a lot to someone, but that is an extreme amount of power.
Yes.
You know, like your typical level 2 that you'll have at your house might be 6 kW, maybe 10 if you've got like a really meaty main amp and, you know, a Ford charger, 15 kW. But when you're talking about 60 even on the baseline here, that's a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot
absolutely.
of juice.
And it's hard to get that kind of power, like we've said, out in rural areas. I mean, it can cost hundreds of thousands, you know, upwards of over $1 million to get that power installed. And that's where this comes in. If you were, say you were leasing a building, okay, and your fleets were going to electric vehicles. Well, if you wanted to have 43-phase installed and then a stationary charger, that cost to get that done it's so substantial. But with an EV power pod, with our skid mounted unit or the trailer mounted unit, you can literally just drop it in place and hit go. So
I noticed here too, you actually have 2 CCS ports.
Yeah.
How does that work? So if I've got one car plugged in that's requesting 20, is the other one going to get 20? How is that shared? How's the power shared?
Yeah, so it is a dynamic charger. So if, say, you had a Tesla that needed 40 and your other one needed 20, it'll give 40 to the Tesla and 20 to the one that's calling for 20.
Right.
Now, if they're both maxing out and say, hey, like I am totally depleted and we need to charge this thing up, then it's going to give you a 50-50 split. But it can work dynamically. It's got the systems on board to work with the computers in the cars themselves to determine what charge it needs.
Now, are there any like safety concerns or safety challenges with mounting this unit on a mobile platform?
No. We've actually worked with the manufacturer of this unit in particular as well. They warranty it as it is. There's no safety issues there at all. And
as an operator, are there any additional maintenance requirements I need to know about, you know, from a propane standpoint?
Yeah.
What does the maintenance cycle look like?
It is a propane generator, right? So there will be maintenance involved with that. So we're talking about just very basic oil changes and oil filter. But these things, the gensets themselves have proven themselves in oil fields in the petrol world to run for 30 years, 365, like all day long.
Okay.
So this is a industrial unit. This is not a prosumer. This is meant to be used for indefinitely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get this thing fired up, and then we have 2 challenging vehicles to charge up here. So we've got the Chevrolet Bolt, which is a lower power architecture, and then we've got the Tesla Model 3, and we're going to see if this unit is capable of charging that. So Ryan, I was expecting the setup to involve a lot more pushing of buttons and switches and you know, Tesla coils whirring, but literally you pushed one button, the thing fires up.
Yep.
And then I think we were waiting here for 3-4 minutes and now it's ready to go.
Ready to go.
So talk to me about the operation. So this looks very native to the charger, right?
Absolutely, yes.
How would we go about starting to charge this Bolt EV?
So if we want to charge the Bolt, we'll actually just grab the handle here.
Yep.
You can just unclip it there. Perfect.
So what's nice about this particular unit is it's actually a very long charge cable, and then just plug her in. Oh, right.
So we're doing what we call a handshake now. So the charger itself is talking to your Chevy Bolt, and then we'll see it kick off in just a second.
So if we had this set up with a credit card, at this point we'd probably want to stick the credit card into the machine.
So you would have stuck the credit card in the machine by this point.
Gotcha. Very cool. And I assume that the system is set up to work with the vast majority of EVs on the market, right? As long as that handshake communication can be made.
So we have ran into some challenges with as new vehicles come on the market. It's kind of like a firmware update is what we have to get from us.
There you go.
So here we go. It's showing you're at 38% charge right now. We are pulling in just over 42 kilowatts of power. And then it'll give us a summary at the end of how much we put into it.
Does this unit work in all sorts of temperatures? Like have you tried it in cold and hot, and how does that work?
So on our production units, we have a microgen in place, right?
A microgen?
Yeah, so a microgen meaning, so to keep everything going in those, we're talking extreme temperatures, it will actually kick on and kind of prime the system up and then fire it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in theory, if you're like sub-zero, you know, you could still charge. Or if you're in California in the desert in the summer, you can still charge. Okay.
Absolutely.
So Ron, I got to ask, you know, with the world kind of moving more toward the charging standard that Tesla's using, is that something you're considering?
It is. We offer adapters with every power pod. This is not proprietary to us. This is just an adapter that's available widely on the market.
Sure. Yeah.
So we offer it for the NAS standard for Teslas. As more manufacturers are coming on board with the NAS standard, I can definitely see us offering that in the future. It's really going to be dependent on the chargers themselves, the actual manufacturers of the chargers.
Right, because you're not tied to the charger.
No.
You know, you could, in theory, if one of the manufacturers starts putting NAC standard on there, you could
That's
make
exactly
it work.
right.
All right, should we give this a go?
Do it.
All right, probably have to unlock the car. So, the Bolt is limited to about 50 kW charging. The Tesla will go much higher.
Yeah.
But we were talking, so you've got the 60 unit, right? 60 kW unit, 120, 180.
Yes.
Is there a even faster option?
There is. So we offer it all the way up to 360. Now, you're going to max it on the 180 on this trailer platform. But if you were to step up to the 360 kW, it's going to be on a step deck trailer.
Okay.
Much larger, nearly 48 to 50 feet long. It's a big guy.
But you do have that option.
But we do have that option.
All right, here we go. So we're going to plug the Tesla in. So you can see we're pulling 39.8 kilowatts. The car is only at 13% state of charge, but we'll hop into the driver's seat and see what the car is saying. So Ryan, we're here in the Tesla. We're pulling 40 kW, most likely because the battery's cold. I wish you could precondition the battery without navigating to a supercharger. But one question I have for you is, if this unit was placed in a rural area, and you know there wasn't a need at that time to charge an EV, but there was a need to supply power to a hospital or to something like that.
Yes.
Could it be configured as such? Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So our production units have the ability to have the switchgear put in place to where it can basically become a command center. It can provide power to a community. It doesn't have to be a single use case of only charging EVs.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said, we're generating power on site. So we do have that ability to not just to direct that away from the charger and then into charging a community or providing power.
Right. So it's a very flexible platform.
Absolutely.
So we talked a little bit about how, you know, the charger comes in a bunch of different sizes and a bunch of different use cases. What are you finding your current customers are using these for right now?
So we have a lot of fleet managers who are trying to implement electric vehicles into their fleets. So when you think about that, you think about last mile delivery trucks, so inside of a city. You have garbage trucks that are being converted over to electric vehicles. And then we have use cases for providing concierge charging on the East Coast. So, you know, some customers are buying them to provide basically mobile charging for their customer base. So it can be both on the commercial level and on the consumer level.
So we're going to try charging two cars at once. So the Tesla's charging, but imagine, you know, this was at a station where you needed multiple applications done at the same time. Well, we're going to see if it's capable of doing so. So I'm going to open up this Bolt here. So we've got two vehicles charging right now, and on the left handle you can see that would be the Tesla at 17%, pulling 29.8. Then we're going to go to the Bolt at 41%, pulling 29.9, and essentially both cars are asking for the most that they can deliver.
That's correct.
So the charger's smart enough to realize, okay, we're just going to go right down the middle.
That's it.
Very cool. Now, is there any danger, you know, we're pulling the max 60 kW.
Yeah.
Is there any danger of pulling this amount of power for an extended period of time?
No.
No, okay.
Absolutely not. So the as far as the genset itself, the actual engine that's propelling this, they are proven in the oil fields. It's meant to be ran 24/7, 365. So there's no risk there. And this unit is a commercial unit. There's no risk there at all.
Right. So Ryan, a couple other questions I have for you is you towed this trailer in with a standard 2500 truck.
Yep.
What does this unit weigh as it sits?
About 11.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 11,500.
Yeah.
And the production version differs a little bit than this one, right?
Yeah, it does. There are a couple different, it's just a little bit of the configuration of the doors.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit different height, but it's marginally, but it's just, this was our unit approved concept. And then we just made some adjustments along the way.
And if people want to find more information or if they want to figure out how to purchase one, where do they go?
evpowerpods.com. evpowerpods.com.
One thing we just talked about, which I think is super interesting, is, you know, a lot of these DC installs, you got even a few 50 kW stations, say 3, right? That's a peak of 150. Utilities are often going to charge out the wazoo, you know, huge numbers because of demand charges.
Yeah.
Is that something you deal with the propane units?
It is not. So the EV Power Pod is totally immune of demand charges because we are generating our own power on site. We're not taking it from the grid. You are totally immune from the demand charges.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we'd love to hear your feedback in the comment section below. Ryan.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it. And as always, it's been Tommy. We'll see you on another TFL EV video.